Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nashraf Daniel, and with my partner Nick Akimi. So today I'm going to present, both of us going to present uh, an interpretation, which is the interpreting with partner. And as for the introduction, uh, so our interpretation is related to consecutive interpretation. So consecutive interpreting is a two-step process that begins with the understanding to the source speech, and it ends with the translating it into another language. So it is the process of verbally conveying information from speaker to an interpreter while speaker pauses after speaking to allow the interpreter to interpret the information delivered in the target language. So, and also consecutive interpreting is a huge thing when it comes to medical interpreting. Healthcare providers whose patients speak different language often rely on a consecutive interpreter with specialist medical knowledge to facilitate the conversation carried out between a doctor and a patient. And the interpreting mode chosen for this session was medical interpretation. And it breaks into two situations, which is the situation one is Nik Hakimi was the interpreter from English to Malay, and there will be a doctor and a patient. And for the situation two, Nik Ashraf, which is myself, was the interpreter from Malay in English. And of course, there will be a doctor and a patient.
Okay, next is the difficulties that we encountered during the interpretation. So there is only one technical problem faced by the students while conducting the interpreting session, which are poor network connection at their place. So it caused by the heavy rain that caused the spikes. So this caused the student to face some lag spikes during the second recording of the interpreting session, which disturbed the flow of the interpreting session, and the interpreter missed some word spoken by the speaker in order to transfer fully accurate messages into the target language. Sorry. Okay, so next is discussion, missing of skills during the session. First, note-taking skill. So due to the fact that both of the students didn't apply note-taking during the session, the reason for that is the reason for neglecting the note-taking skills is because both interpreters utilize their mental capacity to remember the dialogue and train their memory skills for interpretation. And second is speaking skills. So although both of the interpreters decently convey the message spoken by the speaker, there are still some slight off on some part where one of the interpreter didn't show as much expression as the speaker showed. So he needs more practice in his tone so that he could apply appropriate tone in order to deliver the spoken message. Next, how to improve vocabulary shortage. So by first adding a new term to one's vocabulary book is one of the most simplest ways to improve one's writing skills. So as the English language is one of the most extensive, so which means you'll never run out of vocabulary terms to study and use. So a good vocabulary benefits all form of written word, from fiction to reporting to articles, that remaining in contact with verse. So with that in mind, the time you invest in sharpening your language skills should be the same as improving your composing skills. So next, most interpreting students haven't spent much time learning new vocabulary since they were in high school or college. Well, but they can always continue where they left off. And there are some suggestions that would be helpful to get started learning new vocabulary terms. So first, by practice using new words in conversation. So it is possible to have a wide vocabulary without understanding how to utilize it. Um, this implies that interpreter must use their personal dictionary on their own initiative. And also by experimenting in low-stake scenarios allows them to practice the art of word choice, and with some trial and error, focus down on the perfect term for a certain context. And the next one is make reading a habit. So here, With the interpreters discover terms in context, so it is easier to develop their vocabulary. By seeing words appear in a novel or newspaper article may be far more accommodating than seeing them appear on a vocabulary list. So the interpreters do not only become more open to different words, but they also understand how they are utilized in phrases.
So just for feedback, for the first feedback, which is the point of view, Nick Sakimiko's point of view towards myself. So my voice projection was calm and clear. However, I lacked some kind of body gesture and did not show as much as expression as the speaker showed. So what I have to need to do is I need more practice in my tone so that I could apply appropriate tone and the rising ups and down based on how the speaker sounds. However, I did a wonderful role as an interpreter as the messages from both speakers are well delivered and the interpreting session went well. And the second one, which is my point of view, my feedback towards Niakimi. I think Niakimi sits very politely and doesn't change his position when performing the interpretation. And this reflecting his respect toward the speaker and listener. However, gestures and action are lacking. On top of that, I think he was able to deliver the messages given accurately into the target language, and this that shows that he shows his professionalism while conducting the interpretation. So I think for better or for improvement, I would suggest him to apply more relevant gestures and actions for the future interpreting session for a better session. And lastly, for the conclusion, students, which is myself, both of us, discovered that as an interpreter, concentration is one of the most essential component in interpreting, as well as improving our restricted vocabulary and learning how to digest facts fast and efficiently. So if an interpreter doesn't have enough concentration during interpreting, he or she will not able to keep up, and he or she might miss some important point on what the speaker have spoken, which the interpreter have to avoid that at all costs. And the second one, language fluency is extremely important while performing an interpretation. The way an interpreter pronounces words when delivering a message to the target audience has a significant impact on how well the content is conveyed in order to make the audience or listener clear with the info delivered. And lastly, the most crucial components of mastering the art of interpretation are continual practice, self-improvement, and a never-ending drive to learn. So as a student of interpretation, the more we practice, the more we can improve ourselves. So we must always grow and learn new skills in order to meet the demands of the future clients and and to be well prepared for the job so we can minimize all the difficulties we are going to face in the future. And that's all from us. Thank you.